Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a great night of radio from the Curious Realm YouTube channel. Christopher Jordan is going to join us. We're going to have a great time with him. It's going to be about the importance of citizen research and science into these weird fields that we like. By the way, what do you think of the new haircut? I got the beard trim. I got the haircut today. I'm feeling macho. And you guys get to be along with that ride. All right, let's get right to it. We got Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing the gold medal tonight. We have Race Fan with a silver, Eternity Eternal with a bronze medal. Good morning, Skip to Malou. How are you, my dear? Kitty Caddywhack, thanks for coming on in. Robert Lamoth and Bar Madison, good to see you. Anil, thanks for coming on in. T-Bone, my man, nice to see you, my friend. And always a pleasure to see you here. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show. Because literally, Christopher said before the show, Dave, I'm not coming on unless Mel lubes me up. So we're lubed up. Mel has done his job, and we're going to have a nice, smooth show tonight. I promise you. Paramarv, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. D-Cypher and Necessary Dialogue. What's happening? Wayne is here. Wayne will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Trucker Andrew and Fast Hemi, nice to see you guys. Chaz, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Kurt M., thank you for coming on in. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Flat 6, good to have you here tonight. Roll call continues with Les Paul Holland here, and he's strumming away on his Gibson. He's got about 10 of them, so hard to pick which one. Grantavius, where's that mustache? Start growing that lip blade. You have an important thing to accomplish there. Let's go. It gives you power. Matthew Goodka, how are you? Creepy Pasta, nice to see you. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, thanks for coming on in. Signs of Life is here. Signs of Life will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Yennefer with a soft J, thank you for coming on in. Ozzy, Country Life, good to have you both here. Lisa Smith, See How We Are Living, nice to have you both. Pam Harris, hope you're having a great night and you'll enjoy this one. Hi there, Undead Jed, good to see you. Walter Kotchabinsky, thanks for coming on in. Fap Nuts, just flapping around, just like that. All right, who else is next here? Ozzy, and scrolling on down. Stargazer, good to see you here. And Eternity Eternal, good to have you here. And Paul Demon, nice to have you. Let's get the radio side going here. 1 second here. I got to turn around. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott from the Curious Realm YouTube channel. Chris Jordan is here to chat about citizen science and the subjects that we love. So we're continuing on our YouTube roll call right now. Next, let's say hello to Kimberly Burgess. How you doing, my beautiful friend? Nice to see you. Jay True Seeker, how are you tonight? And who is next here? Well, let's see here. Scrolling on down. Smokes a lot. Good to have you. We are caught up right there. And I want to remind everybody, the super chat is open. If you're looking for a great way to support us, that is the way to do it. You could also join our YouTube membership as well as our Patreon. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. We definitely want you to be wearing your stuff or our stuff on you. That's for sure. And then take a picture so we can put it on our website because we like doing that. It's that time of the night. We're asking you to do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to talk about citizen science in the subjects we love tonight. Christopher Jordan is here from the Curious Realm YouTube channel. We want you to hit subscribe on that. Why? He's close to 1,000 subscribers. We need like 55 subscribers tonight. Curious Realm. So if you're on radio listening in, go to Curious Realm on YouTube, hit subscribe. Let's help this guy out. He's helping us out with a great show tonight. So let's do the same for him. Then in hour number 3, we got a little bit different format for you. We're going to go to Swamp Dweller. Then Katie Page from the Rocky Mountain Ranch Research is going to be here for the encounters. Then it's Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. So let's learn about our guest tonight, shall we? Christopher Jordan is the founder of Curious Research, an organization whose mission is helping the world of fringe sciences and paranormal research prepare their data to shake hands with science at large, and helping scientists prepare to look at the data provided by the disciplines of ufology, cryptozoology, and parapsychology studies in a whole new light. In 2024, Christopher created the Field Observation and Encounter Log, a groundbreaking first-of-its-kind field data log made specifically for field researchers of the paranormal, cryptids, and UFOs, to standardize the data gathered while investigating on location. I mean, how cool is that? He is also the host of Curious Realm, a program that explores interesting and unusual topics related to science, technology, history, and culture, interviewing experts and exploring the topics in greater depth. Let's bring him on in. This is his first time on the show. I'm excited to have him. Christopher Jordan, how you doing, my friend? Welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
Thanks so much for having me, Dave. I greatly appreciate it.
Not a problem. We're going to help you get to 1,000 subscribers tonight.
Well, I appreciate it.
That
Thank
is
you.
my goal. We're going to hit 1,000 subscribers before you go, because I love being able to help people who are doing great work in the field. And
so
if I
much.
can help that out and get that number closer or push you over the edge, that's going to be amazing. I'm so happy that you're here, because this is a subject that I absolutely love, is the citizen side of what we do. We can hear the researchers, we can hear the scientists, they all talk big, and the first thing that the majority of them do is say, hey, experiencers, hey, citizen researchers, get out of the way. Let the pros do their job. And here you are kind of doing something a little bit different than that.
Well, for me, it's the fact of, if you have had an experience, and I'm going to pop something up on screen real quick that's actually on the front of my field observation log, but it's the scientific method. And if you look at the scientific method, as soon as you have had an observation, as soon as you saw something, had an experience, and then you went out and were like, what was that? And you started looking into it more, and then you formed an idea about it, buddy, science started. Like, you're a scientist at that point. The only question's whether or not, like, you bought a ticket to the science train, or if you're eating a Twix at the station. Like, the science train left, so it is the fact that, yes, if you're out and you've had an experience with Sasquatch, if you have had a paranormal experience, if you have had an experience that, the way I put it, has kind of shoved a crowbar in your keyhole and changed the aperture through which you see the world, you are a citizen scientist at that point. So yeah, being able to write down the data as it happens to you is massively important. That's one of the things that they try to do all the time in laboratory science, is write down the observations as they happen in real time. And that kind of brings us to the fight, because there's a constant fight between these things, Dave, between the world of paranormal and science. And it's hilarious to me. I'm kind of one of those. I understand the backdoor way in which they changed UFO to UAP. However, when you change it to anomalous phenomena, you now bring it directly into the world of science. Like, anomaly and phenomena are things that scientists have to be able to extract from their data set. They have to be able to get that out of their data set so that they know that their data set is pure, you know?
Oh, you and I could open up a whole can of worms with that, my friend. Because you know what? Behind the scenes, I've talked to a number of people, because I was one of these guys, man. I always hated the term UAP.
Yeah.
Always hated it. I
And I
still
get it.
hate it. Cannot
get it.
stand it. But the one thing that I learned over my hatred of that acronym was this: the more I talked to people and the more I did my own studying, and when I say talk to people, I'm talking people on the inside. The one thing that I learned, and it's funny you say that, because underneath my sweater, I have a shirt on that you can be found at our Spaced Out Radio store that says, "Friends don't let friends UAP." Right. And yeah, so you guys could go to our store and get that shirt. But here's the one thing I learned to get to it, is that the people that I know on the inside, when we talked about it, this goes from former CIA members to former people who worked at secret bases in Nevada that they're not supposed to talk about, and other places, was that UFO and UAP is actually completely two different subjects.
Yes.
Every time we hear the term UAP, they're covering up hidden technology and man-made objects, whereas UFOs, completely different subject of study for them.
Interesting. And that's something that I bring up regularly, is the idea that, unfortunately, so many of these topics, whether it's UFOs, whether it's cryptozoology, whether it's all been shoved into the Kleenex box that is paranormal, and the thing with science is they like to categorize things, kingdom, phylum, species, that kind of stuff. So describing everything as Kleenex doesn't really help clear up the situation. They want to know, is okay, so it's a facial tissue. Is it pleated, non-pleated, single ply, double ply, lotion, non-lotion? Like, you can get Kleenex is just a brand name. So we tend to lump things together into familiar terminology, instead of actively making a divide between the disciplines of study. Even though there may be some crossover between them. For instance, I'm an audio and video engineer, and there are things that are cross-compatible between the two. However, they're many parts of both disciplines that are very separate at the same token, you know.
For our audience, to help build your credibility with the audience, because all of us are getting to know you here.
Sure.
How did you develop this? Do you have a scientific background? Is that where life kind of took you before you got into this?
You know, I have done the typical lab science that people have done in college, that kind of thing. I can't even say I'm a college graduate. I have numerous friends that have gone into sciences, and that's what they do. Be it genetic sciences. I have numerous friends that went off into pharmacology, all kinds of things. But for me, it's the fact of I have always been fascinated by science, astronomy specifically.
Right.
I do tons of nighttime photography of the night sky, things
Beautiful.
like that. And that's probably the science that I've loved the most in my life. But it's the fact of there are testable ways that science does things, and the way that they look at things is different than the way than your average weekend warrior paranormal investigator looks at things. Their terminologies are different, you know. It, for instance, the difference between data and evidence. Um, there's a fine line difference between data and evidence. You know, evidence is once data has passed through filters, once data has been double checked, once
Mhm.
data has gone through the clearing of phenomena to make sure it isn't some sort of explainable phenomena, you know, the things like that. So it's it it's different when you start looking at it that way, and when you start considering the fact that when you're out in the field Sasquatching, that kind of stuff, that you could be supplying all kinds of data to your local college,
Yeah.
to your local actual scientists, that would be helping to make that handshake, you know? Uh,
And I love what you're doing. See, I went and got my degree in broadcast journalism because I was absolutely terrible at sciences.
yeah,
Terrible at them.
that's pretty
And
much what I did, was go study recording and engineering, and
absolutely.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to be on my best behavior right now because I just found out my father is listening. So now I got to be good.
Oh,
Now I got to be good. You
never
know?
mind the broadcast rules, Pop's on the line.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more embarrassing than knowing that your father is listening to it. Hey, everybody, listen up. My son's a weirdo. Listen to the topics he's talking about.
Right?
Right. But
I can appreciate that.
But here's the thing that I've learned in my almost 11 years of doing this show is the importance of the citizen interest of this subject. Whether you're an
Absolutely.
experiencer, whether you're an enthusiast, whether you are a researcher of, it doesn't matter what the subject is, cryptids,
Yeah.
paranormal, UFOs, alien abductions, whatever it may be. We all have a part to play in this, except the majority of us, especially the paranormal world, they don't know what to do with their evidence. They have
Yeah.
no clue what to do. And you know what? I'll be blunt with you for a second here, Chris. For a long time, I actually stopped interviewing paranormal people on this show
Mm.
because if there's one way you want to screw up a paranormal researcher, you say, what do you do with your evidence? Well, we collect it. Well, what do you do with it afterwards?
Yeah.
Well, we put it in a database for ourselves. Well, what do you do with it? Nobody can understand or answer that question. What are you doing with it? Because it's great that you got this giant database of evidence, but you know what? If Team Chris investigates ABC Hotel and Team Dave investigates ABC Hotel, we should be able to collaborate to see what were you getting John Smith in room 172? You know, we should be
Yeah.
able to do that. And that is something I believe if I get what you're doing correctly, that's what you're putting together is collaboration.
That is exactly what I'm trying to do, precisely, because frighteningly, and here's the thing, man, is um science in and of itself is very protective, you know, and it's fascinating. There are things that that happen in science where things get sabotaged. It's kind of bad and horrible. People will hold back information from other researchers, all kinds of things. So I have been witness to that. I have seen that happen. I have seen uh things go awry in the background where people want to try to share data, but then it comes to, well, who's going to be the one who releases it first? Things like that. It's like, well, if it's about who gets the shoe drop on social media, is it really about the research at that point? You know?
Well, and
Um,
that's exactly it, because we've changed research for clicks
yeah,
and clickbait titles.
yeah, yeah, precisely. And see, the problem is, the the way I describe it to people is we got to the moon and we got robots on Mars for very specific reasons. That was healthy competition. That's how we got the Have Blue program and stealth technology was healthy competition, you know? Um, you put up a competition and say, who can do this, who can achieve this, and people compete. And then eventually what happens is they share data at the end of it. All the data comes together and things get put together and culled together in a different way, you know? So yeah, it helps you build a larger thing. But it it's hard to convince people to share data. It's hard to convince people to want to do that because um, their data may be seen through a lens that they may not want it to be seen through, which can be scary. Uh, because yeah, somebody else with a different set of skills than you have may get a hold of things and be able to show that your data may not be what you think it is. Um, and
Is it
that's
ego?
okay.
Is it ego?
There's some of that, most definitely. There's a lot of that. Ego and fear, you know? It's the fact of how do you get past the fear of failure, and B, the fear of somebody else taking your work.
Well,
And I know a few researchers just personally who have been on my show who in the last 2, 3 years have straight up had work taken from them and put on broadcast TV, things like that. And it's like, wow, wow. I have seen once again in the background the straight up somebody trying to stop somebody from getting documents. Uh, so yeah,
here's an important question I want to ask you about this.
please.
Okay. There's a lot of anger and hatred in these fields right now. I mean, it's like a
Yes,
political battlefield. The
absolutely.
UFO world, the cryptid world, the paranormal world, that if you're not investigating or you're not a part of TAPS or you're not a part of BFRO, or if you're a UFO person and not a UAPer,
Yeah.
get out of the field. Where's your evidence? Where's your proof? And then people just cutting to shreds anything that goes online these days. You could have the picture perfect video of a UFO landed in your backyard, okay, and the beings coming out with celebratory signs saying, "Hey, Dave, we made it," you
Yeah.
know. And these people, and you're going to get half the internet who is absolutely going to carve you a new one for setting this up and
Yeah.
and making fun of the subject, and it doesn't just go to the criticism, but there are some literal psychopaths out there
Oh,
who
absolutely.
are going to threaten you online. They're going to dox you online. They are going to give you unaliving threats online in
Yeah.
DMs or emails. Now, I haven't had that happen, but I know people who have.
The NASA panel had it happen, man. If you remember the second NASA UAP panel that happened, the head of the NASA panel had to get up in the first 5 minutes and be like, hey, if we could not threaten NASA scientists on social media, that'd be great. You know, like, you've asked us to come be part of this, and now that we're part of it, you're telling all these people that they're part of a 50-year cover-up. Like, they've worked here 5 years. What do you mean they've been at this 50 years and hiding stuff? Like, they've gotten threats, all kinds of things. So it's interesting to see that, because yeah, there is once again a definite facet of all of these communities that is hard set against the scientific community and against laboratory science toward things. And
But
it's
doesn't
fascinating. And at the same token, laboratory scientists that hate the idea of paranormal.
but let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
Okay, because NASA, as my audience knows, I think NASA is the greatest bunch of liars in this field. And I hate the term liar because so many people throw it around like it's candy in this field. Oh, I don't believe you because my opinion's different. You're a liar. We see
Yeah.
that all the time. Okay, but NASA has been proven that they have lied numerous times. Their own astronauts have said this is what they saw. And for,
Yeah.
NASA to come out, and good old Cowboy Bill there up top coming in, we're going to go find them UAPs.
Well,
Okay. What I'm saying, though, is why didn't you check your closet, Bill Nelson? Why didn't you check your closet? All you had to do is open up your closet, and it's right there. But you're going to make a fool out of this topic.
yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how you destroy it.
I am firmly with you there. And even with the panels going on with the government right now with UAPs here in the United States, I keep telling people on my show all the time, even when Earl Grey was on my show and we would cover them. It was the fact of, you will not see Big D disclosure is not going to be them wheeling out a gurney with a tablecloth on it and pulling it off in the aha moment of, here's the wreckage and the body. That's not going to happen. What you're going to see eventually is a purse string choking somebody and an Ollie North coming forth who's like, yes, I worked at this alphabet agency. This is what happened. This is where monies went. But like George Knapp just said, and think of him what you will, folks, but he brought up a very cogent point in this last UAP hearing, and that was the fact of, yes, people like Lockheed Martin, people like BAE, people like NASA, people like Bigelow Aerospace, they have been entrenched in this thing for so long that they're probably looking for an off-ramp of scientific cooperation to be able to get this stuff further. Because they're probably running up against brick walls as far as how far they can go with compartmentalized science. But also the fact of, they were sworn to such deep secrecy years ago that they still can't say anything by the government because of who they were, what they did, and the specialty that they had. They were given this stuff, but they aren't allowed to say anything about it. And much like the panels and studies said from the Brookings Institute, and like, what was that, 1958, 56, yes, something like that, where it was like, no, if you find anything in space, you really shouldn't tell the general public.
Absolutely.
It will so panic
there, because
we
are going to go to break here in about I think like 4 seconds.
Ooh.
Yeah, quick. Chris Jordan is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Curious Realm is his YouTube channel. We're trying to get him up to 1,000 subscribers tonight. So go over there while you're listening, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd appreciate it. This is Spaced Out Radio. Citizen Science Talk continues right after this. You're up to 962.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
We need 28 more people. 28 more. Paramarv has put the link up. I'll put it up on the screen. 28 more. And let's see if we can get to 1,000 tonight. Or 38 more. Sorry, 38 more. My math is terrible. That's why I took my degree in journalism. 38 more. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, let's do it. Let's do it for a friend here. We can do it. I promise. Little Mikey Bothwell, how are you? All right. I want to make sure all of you go hit that. Let's do it. If you're listening in on X or LinkedIn, and Joe Firmage, if you're listening in, yes, I will call you. I promise you I will call you. Yeah, out of the blue, Joe Firmage messaged me the other day, and he's like, I can confirm 100% that the Travis Walton incident is real. And I said, Joe, do you want to come on my show? And he's like, yes, I do. I'm like, okay. Do you know who Joe Firmage is?
I do not offhand.
Literally, this guy is a major UFO player, like inside player. But he's also the guy who developed or was one of the key developers of the World Wide Web.
Oh, wow.
He pretty much, from what I've learned about him, he pretty much helped invent the .com.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dude is smart. Dude is smart. Oh, Trucker Andrew. Trucker Andrew is good people.
Thank you for all the subs, guys.
Where are we at now? Let's take a look here. I'm refreshing now. 979. We need 21. We can do this, people. We need 21. I think we may hit it tonight. We're going to come damn close.
It's already way closer than I was.
I know, but that's what happens when you come on this show and you're that close. We try and give a big push. Because if you're supporting us with your time to come hang out with our audience, then we're going to support you in getting your numbers up.
That's right.
That's only fair.
If you like the band, buy the shirt because they didn't get paid by the bar.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Right. We got about 50 seconds before we come back from break. Big thank you tonight to Trucker Andrew, T-Bone, and Pam Harris for the lovely super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, everybody. Oh, Sandra, you saw Chilliwack last night. Fantastic. Tell me My Girl. They could still sing My Girl. Oh, I love that song. Still crank that song. Simply Coco, you look absolutely beautiful tonight. I hope you're enjoying your beverage. All right. 12 seconds. Reminder, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So get your orders in. And let's see where we are here. $986. 14 more. We need 14 more. Let's do this. It's like a telethon. Where are we going? Higher. Where are we going? Higher. Ring those phones. Seymour, how you doing, my man? 7 seconds. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Citizen science is the topic when it comes to the paranormal, UFOs, and of course, them big hairy cryptids out in the forest. Christopher Jordan is our guest tonight from Curious Realm YouTube channel. Go hit subscribe on that. We're doing a good job of getting his numbers up tonight. Hey, we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Christopher Jordan hanging on out with us from Curious Realm on YouTube, and we're talking citizen science, the importance of people getting involved and taking their information. He's developing a database where you can send it. Now, Christopher, I need a hand from you. I need a hand from you here.
Okay, what do you need?
I may have Sasquatch poop.
Okay.
And we have a sample of it.
All right.
No place to send it.
I am currently working with a few people that I know that are in the field of like marine biology, things like that, to make connections with DNA laboratories, things like that, where that can at least be sent, things like that. So we will definitely talk off air, man. I've got a couple people that I may be able to get you in touch with. So.
I love it. I love it because I want to be able to send it somewhere. We have a few samples that we collected on that at one of our locations here, and it's just weird. I mean, yeah, I'm the type of person who tells my research partner Tim to put potential Sasquatch poop in the freezer. That's me.
Right.
That's who
right.
I am.
Vacuum pack it, put it in the freezer.
Absolutely.
And that's, one of the things that I started a long time ago on my Curious Realm website that I carried forth with Curious Research was the Knowledge Vault, where it's just a huge compendium of declassified documents, patents that we regularly refer to, things like that on the show. So it's one of those, it's like, no, it's real. There it is. But I've actively made a page of free tools on the curiousresearch.org website. Everything from like audio visualizers, things like that, where you can audio analyze clips, video analysis software where you can put your clip in and it will analyze it for you, things like that, EXIF data analyzers. So it's one of those that we're getting into the world of things now where AI is becoming almost indecipherable from real in some ways. There are still a lot of ways to tell that it's AI, but even when you look at the way that the AI images of Comet 3i Atlas have taken over social media, where it's like there's probably about 60-70% scientific data in a post, but then with an utterly AI'd image that is very sensationalistic and clickbaity. And when you start doing that, it leads into dangerous territories, because one of the things that we have to try to fight against, even as investigators ourselves, is that A, the want of confirmation, B, the want of confirmation married with confirmation bias. And the idea that when you're presented information that is against what you believe, or even against your hypothesis, that you're not going to take that data into your data set, and that's kind of a dangerous, like, I'm a true believer. I'm a believer's believer, but that also means that my realm of proving data should be larger. It should be bigger at that point. And I think that what a lot of people are afraid of is that if and the example that I give is the image with the red circle. If you've got a picture with a red circle from an investigation, and somebody like me can explain to you what's in the red circle from 30 years of living behind a camera lens, photography wise and video wise and editing wise and things like that, or even audio recording wise. That does not remove your experience. It doesn't change that moment that you took the picture or that you recorded the video or that you recorded the audio clip. It doesn't remove that from you. That moment that happened to you where you said, "What was that?" And it changed who you were and changed the way that you looked at the world is still there.
I want to follow up with you on something you said a couple minutes ago that I think
Sure
is
thing.
really important. And
Go
we
ahead.
on a couple shows ago, we talked to Dean Alioto, a filmmaker and researcher in the UFO world, about this AI.
Mm.
With the advancement so quickly of AI, which is changing month to month, week to
Oh,
week
yeah.
right now, and becoming very, very difficult to tell the difference between real and fake. How are
Yeah.
we going to trust evidence these days if we can be fooled so simply?
It it's hard. It's hard. There is a great realm of discernment that needs to come, when it comes to those things because, yeah, and I can play you a clip. Like, I have an AI of my voice. Like, I have trained an AI in my voice, and I have it reading a script, and it is pretty well exactly what I sound like. It's kind of frightening because all it took was about 20-25 minutes of me giving it clips of me talking to a guest, you know? And it picked up my meter, it picked up the way that I get excited, it picked up the way that I get deep and contemplative. It's really interesting. And yeah, when you start seeing that, when you start seeing the way that things can be generatively added to pictures, there's a lot out there that can be done. And fortunately there's still a lot of ways and a lot of tools, once again, like some of the online tools that I've put on our free tools page, where you can throw that in there and it's going to tell you whether or not it's been touched with a digital paintbrush or whether or not it's an actual part of a negative, things like that. So the funny thing is, though, even those are using AI. So there are, once again, especially with written word, things like that, there are a lot of ways to tell that things are AI'd. Um, and a lot of that comes down to the training of the actual AI itself. Like, I've got an AI server that I have actively built that operates offline, um, and has a couple of data grade video cards in it, like data center video cards, for specifically analyzing this kind of data, analyzing this kind of stuff. But it takes a ton of training to get an AI to that point. It's one of those, like, if you want to understand how binaural beats work, you first have to give it the data on how frequencies work and what a frequency is and what frequency math is and what a hertz rate is. And, like, you have to train it as though it's a child and explain everything to it. Um, so it's fascinating and it's interesting to see that the way the AI hallucinates and creates things just out of the blue. Uh, so yeah, there's some troublesome things I think on the horizon if we don't get handle on them quick. But more than anything is, once again, that want of confirmation. Um, because that's where the AI leads to trouble, you know? We have seen some bad things happen over the last few years within different communities from people who have claimed things that come to find out it ain't nothing like that. And they called everybody who said that they had the same experience crazy. All kind that, and that led to lawsuits, um, all kinds of things. And when you have that want of confirmation like that, you set up a very easy means by which to hurt the experiencer. And that is something else that I have tried to set up with Curious Research, is basically an anonymous help group that you can set up on your own. Like, there are protocols on our website, and it's called Awakening Together, and it's basically a paranormal experiencer group where you can come to a non-judgmental space, talk to other experiencers, no advice being proffered. But the idea of, it's okay that you had an experience, because even the idea of being able to talk about an experience openly, like, sometimes it drives families apart. They aren't even able to talk about experiences. Me and a friend of mine had an experience together while I was in college, at least 2-3 years into college. We did not talk about that experience for almost 20 years, Dave.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating. And just to see the way that affects things. And when these things keep happening, when people make accusations against experiencers in the community, that kind of stuff. There's been a big charge lately about the Betty and Barney Hill experience not being real and stuff like that. And it's like, unfortunately, a lot of those are cases that really help other people want to come forward with their own case.
Well, you look at not only that, but I mean, why would anybody want to come out today?
That's just it. Exactly.
Let's say you had the Dogman version of the Patterson Gimlin film. If you had that $1 million film,
yeah,
would you release it? Would you bring it to the public? Because I don't know if I would, because of the harassment, the doxing, and the decades of my children and my future grandchildren having to deal with the harassment of this for the next at least 50 to 60 years. And we know it's that timeline because Bob Gimlin still gets his ass cooked for the video of the Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those, it makes it hard to want to come forward. And at that point, it because things like that don't come forward. And I'm in the camp with people like my good friend King Gerhard, where he says, like, we aren't going to prove Bigfoot with a picture or a photograph, or with a piece of video. It may be a piece of data that we'll use for something, but that's not going to be the definitive proof. And I tend to agree with that. I think another dangerous place that we get, though, is with thinking that anybody's an expert in most of this. They may be an expert in physics. They may be an expert in, stories, in anthropology, all kinds of things. But you can't be a Bigfoot expert because Bigfoot has not been proven to exist yet. So yeah. And once again, these are all things that, like, science will use all day to poo-poo the conversation and be like, no, I'm not going to talk to a Bigfoot expert.
Okay. So sorry to cut you off there, but I'm
No
very
worries.
passionate about this subject. Why would science take us seriously when we have people throughout this field making up and self-titling themselves? Like you just said, expert. I know a UFO person, okay, where this person was in the field 6 months, got a television show, and went on social media. I've been hired by such and such a television show as a UFO expert. Okay. I would have shot that down. When I've done television, and I've
Yeah.
only done a couple of them, but when I've done, done a couple television shows, they ask me, what title do you want? And I tell them radio host, journalist.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not lying, but I mean, one of my pet peeves in this field that has been there for a long time is people self-titling themselves as journalists.
Yeah.
And scientists and experts. And when I look at that, and I know how worked up I get over somebody proclaiming they're a journalist when they don't even know what the beat is. Okay. I could just imagine what a physicist or an astrophysicist or a chemist or a biologist or an anthropologist would feel if all of a sudden, Dave Scott comes out saying, by the way, I'm a Google scientist now, so
Yeah.
I've Googled what an anthropologist is, and I'm now an anthropologist.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
shoot ourselves in the foot to lose that credibility about it. And it doesn't matter whether it's cryptids or like, for instance, one of the reasons why I don't interview a lot of paranormal teams anymore is they kept saying they are following scientific method. There is no scientific method in the paranormal. Why are you doing that to try and make yourself look good when you're lying to the public? And I've grown really, really jaded by it. I'm sure you could hear in my voice.
And I appreciate that. And same in a lot of ways. And that's a lot of reason why I came up with the data log was at least because here's the thing. If you're talking about most videos that you're watching online, feel free to look into forced perspective, folks, and what that is. Same thing with the videos that came out during the recent hearing. That is a forced perspective situation on most of that. And there are a lot of ways by which people post things on purpose to deceive, but at this and it's one of those, like, how do you tell the difference if there's no data? If the post is made anonymously, consider that. Like, take that with like a tablespoon of salt. The fact that somebody doesn't want their name attached to something. But in the same token, if they aren't willing to give you data, if they aren't willing to give you directional data, what time it was taken, what direction, what kind of camera they were using, all things like that, what the average temperature was, humidity, all those things that play into the way that optics work, especially at a distance, that kind of stuff.
Well, we've got 6 minutes to go, and I apologize for cutting you off.
No worries.
I feel like I'm cutting you off a lot.
You were
I'm
not
excited about this conversation here. One of the things that I want to ask you though, about the citizen people who are doing this and maybe not sharing their data. I think a lot of it is to protect the location too.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Because, like, I know the one location that I talk about where we are investigating, and I am an amateur researcher. I am the amateur among amateur researchers.
Yep.
Okay. I don't even consider myself a researcher. I consider myself an overexuberant enthusiast of the phenomena. Okay. I don't mind talking about my location because I know in my small town of 2,500 people that probably only 200 of those people know where the location is.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have people driving 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 hours from a metropolis here in British Columbia, like Vancouver, to come up and try and take on this location, because if they don't know the area, they're likely not going to find it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my area is safe, but there's a lot of people, say, living in Boston or living in Chicago or Wisconsin or Indiana or Washington State, wherever it may be, where those locations that are red hot that they are studying are getting inundated with paranormal teams or cryptid teams or even UFO teams that are all using that same location for their own personal benefit. So I could see why maybe some people are hesitant to talk about or release their information because of the location and not wanting to have it overblown.
I get that. And once again, I also fully get the idea of working on something for years and having the carpet pulled out from underneath you because you shared data with somebody and then they ended up taking it 8 steps further, and claiming everything from the beginning. And I have seen that happen to people, most definitely, and it's a hard thing to get past. And it is what causes a lot of compartmentalized science, for certain. And once again, even scientists are afraid of that, much less paranormal investigators. So the idea of sharing that data sharing that data across discipline, like from paranormal investigator to scientist, I think is very important, though. Especially whenever it comes to, like, if you're out squatching, that kind of stuff. The example that I give is, if you have a local university with a biology department, whatever, tell them that you are out in the woods regularly in this region. You don't have to give them an exact location, but at least a region, with like 6 or 7 trail cameras, and I would love to give you the footage that I'm not using, so that you can use it for bear counts, deer counts, wildlife counts, things like that. Like, that is data that they would love to be able to get, but they have to write a grant to buy the cameras and to have somebody go out and get the camera footage every weekend and everything else. If you're out doing that yourself already, you can now shovel data into the hands of science that they can use all day long, and now you're their friend.
I love that point. For your database that you're doing, is location protected?
I try to keep the things like that protected. Yes, I try to keep things like investigators' names protected, that kind of stuff. So what we're mainly looking for is the other data, the specifically data like temperature, humidity, that kind of stuff. Things that would be the first things that a scientist would go to try and disprove things, or to try and put things through a different filter of discovery, so to speak, as you're examining data points. So yeah, we try and keep things like that, any proprietary information like that, um, well protected from databasing, and we're trying to make it to where the reports that we have are publicly available, for people to view, because that's always a big thing, especially with a few of the alphabet agencies out there in the UFO community, is that whenever you make a report, you can't view your report without becoming an investigator and paying money to become an investigator. So yeah, trying
Well,
to set up a
along those
system
lines,
that's
as we
different.
have about a minute to go here,
Yep.
you take Enigma Labs, where Enigma Labs comes out, says, don't worry, we're not a government agency, even though we're funded by government coffers.
Government. Yeah.
Okay, number one, and we're working on contracts with NASA and other military contracts. But don't worry, your information is safe with us,
Yeah.
allegedly. Because you have
Yeah.
to end those sentences with allegedly to protect yourself. So, I mean, for somebody independent like you, it's got to be a little bit more pressure on you to protect that information than it
Yeah.
is just to hand it out for a quick buck. And I want your opinion on that a little bit
Absolutely.
more when we get back from our
Yep.
break here at the top of the hour. We are having an amazing conversation with Chris Jordan from the YouTube channel Curious Realm. You want to go hit subscribe on that. Why? Because it's a great channel. We're trying to get him to 1,000 subscribers tonight, and we are working hard on that. We need 13 more. So make sure you go hit subscribe during the break on his channel, and more talk of citizen science when we return on this great show. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Chris, we are clear. We got about 6 minutes here.
Copy.
I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. And I'm going to put you in the green room, okay?
Copy.
All right. Here we go. Be right back, everybody. Enjoy the sign because it's fun. This one right here. Enjoy that. Right, I am back. Let's bring Chris back in. There we go. Chris, how you doing?
Doing great.
You having fun?
Absolutely. Super
Good.
fun.
Thanks, my man. I appreciate that. Eva, how are you? Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. And anybody else that I'm missing? R2D2, beep, doot, doot, doot. To you. Tyler 420, how you doing? All right. 30 seconds, my man.
Copy that.
And refresh that. Let's see where you are. We need 8 more people, guys. 8 more people. Let's get them to 1,000 tonight. Curious Realm on YouTube. Thank you tonight to Dutch Hank, Walter, and Polly, and Andrew, and T-Bone, and Pam for the great super chats. Thank you for your love of Spaced Out Radio. Here's hour 2 coming up. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're having a great time talking to Chris Jordan from Curious Realm on YouTube. Go hit subscribe because we're having a lot of fun with Chris tonight. He deserves the support from all of you on his YouTube channel. So thank you very much for that. Hey, I want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quab. Quab is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. From the YouTube channel, we got, what's the YouTube channel? Curious Realm. Go hit subscribe. He's literally 8 away from 1,000. We're trying to push him over the hump tonight. We are. We need your help for that. Chris Jordan is here. He's a great guy talking citizen science in the fields of the paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, cryptids, and everything. Chris, thank you for a great conversation in hour 1. Here comes hour 2. I know it's going to be great as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the cryptid world. Okay, we have people all over North America and the world going to look for Bigfoot, dogmen, sea monsters, little people.
Yep.
Everything that seems to be very high strange in the forests out there. How do we get proper information from these creatures that are not supposed to exist?
Well, the first thing is proper information of your observation. If you are out looking for this intentionally, things like that. And this is just myself from over the years, attending conferences, going to conferences, talking at conferences, and interviewing people. The one thing I hear more than anything is when I got back to camp. When I got back to camp and I'd thought about it, the problem is by the time you've gotten back to camp, you have already started deprecating the actual good scientific data that could be there. Once again, are you gathering directional data? Are you gathering data like things like if for instance, if you're out Sasquatching, yes, understanding weather patterns, understanding those things in relation to sightings is important. No different than understanding how deer migrate during the summertime as opposed to the wintertime, because the temperature variation in their environment. So these are all data points that are hugely important, aside from the actual experience, and the example that I give people, having worked in live events and in editing and recovering photos and video and audio for so many years, the turn of phrase that I've always heard is a picture is worth 1,000 words. And a picture is actually only worth 1,000 words if you've been there or if you have a frame of reference. If you show a 4-year-old who has never been to a wedding a picture of a wedding toast, you're going to have a lot of details to fill in because they have no frame of I mean, okay, cool, you showed me this picture, but I don't know what this picture is about. And I don't have the backstory of this picture. I don't have the understanding of what a bride is, what a groom is, what a toast is. You know, those are all points of data that you have to give the person at that point so that they can understand what that picture actually is. And it's the same thing with science. Like we've got to be willing to give those extra points of data. And the point that I bring up regularly is the show. I don't know if you have it up there where you're at, but First 48 is the
Yes.
name of the show.
Love
And
that
the
show.
the idea is if detectives don't get good data and good leads, things like that, within the first 48 hours, a crime may never be solved, ever. Because by that point, memories start deprecating. You start passing things through your filter of reality, through your filter of experience, or your filter of belief, stuff like that. So it's no longer good, hard, raw data. It's now deprecated data. It's still data, but it's not as good as it would be as if it happened in the moment. You know, it's kind of like if the chemist is in the lab and he's mixing things, and then he gets home after traffic and writes down what he saw happen in the flasks in the lab, you know?
Mhm.
Sure, he's had time to think about it, but he's not getting real-time data, which is what's so key and absolutely important. Because if you get that data as it happens or as close as possible to when it happens, now it's not deprecated through those filters. You don't have time to start processing it in that kind of way before you actively get it down, you
Do
know?
you edit your reports? And what I mean by that, if we stick to the cryptid world, it
Mhm.
has been proven many a time over that a group like the BFRO actually edits their reports. So, for instance, they are so wanting to be scientific with the Bigfoot story that they
Mm.
will not use or they will edit a story that has anything to do with a correlation with UFOs or paranormal or
Sure.
Bigfoot disappearing and reappearing, anything that seems to be a little bit odd out of
Woo.
the scientific realm.
Anything woo that's
Yeah,
not
anything will.
biological.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to me, that tells me A, they're not doing anything scientific. Number two, their data is skewed and not correct. And number three, if people who are giving them their reports are seeing their reports edited, they're going to be unhappy because there's not enough,
Yeah.
or they've changed their story without even asking permission to change their story.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important, and that's a lot of what people claim with other alphabet agencies and the UFO UAP community, things like that. And yes, that is an issue. No, we do. I mean, I can't say as we've taken in any more than like a dozen reports in the time that we have been open with our reporting system, things like that. But never would that ever be my intent. The same way as like I don't edit my show. Because if I edited my show, my man, I could make people say all kinds of things, you know? I've got a few skills as far as that goes. So I don't edit my show because I want you to unabridged have that data. And that's just it. If they're only including that data set, then I would say at the very least that they are cherry picking their data and only going with that data, yeah, because that may be the only data that they are comfortable actively investigating, you know. And there's a rote phrase that I use on my show and whenever I speak in public or on panels, things like that, and that is that I believe that there is a large hominid being roaming the woods of North America and beyond. However, I think that there is also something else that is perfectly willing to use our want of experience as a point of consent to enter this place. Um, And that sets up for a lot of things, folks, when you're talking about especially investigation and paranormal investigation, and you know, people getting hype about their investigation and watching shows about it for 3 days straight and watching YouTube channels. And I don't think that's really a good idea. You know, you may be well charging that atmosphere with that. You know, you may be inducing the experience by that happening. At the very least, you're actively polishing the filter through which you're going to look at your data, you know. So I propose the fact that whether you're going squatching at your favorite spot, whether you're going investigating at your favorite spot, paranormal wise, or your favorite cemetery, that you should literally just have a rote checklist and like, do I have my coordinates to go to? Yes. That's it. That way you aren't setting yourself up with a point of expectation that maybe you somewhere inside feel like you need to fill with data that may not actively be filling that data set in that kind of way. You know, you may be looking at that through a totally colored and polarized lens when you're looking at that data at that point. And once again, just to bring it into the quantum world, things like that. And that's where I think a lot of this comes, Dave, is once quantum entanglement won the Nobel Prize, science came running to our side, you know, and it's really fascinating to see the number of
Yes.
labs that are starting to look into psychic ability, things like that. Like I'm pretty heavily involved in the remote viewing community. I just went to Sci Games, and to see the scientists that are there, like that was something that was born in the lab, and it was born out of the hypothesis that if you're a scientist working on an experiment and you go home and think about it, might you adversely affect that experiment by thinking about it in a bilocation kind of way, you know? So yeah, the idea that you may be influencing the environment that you're about to go investigate if you are rabbit holing and digging Swiss cheese, watching shows, listening to podcasts about the location and things like that. You may be adversely affecting the actual data that you're going to get.
Before we get to some audience questions here, because I
Sure.
like to involve our audience,
Absolutely.
what is good evidence? Because I know in my area where I investigate, the ground is way too hard to get a quality footprint, even though, like, you couldn't cast a footprint. You
Yeah.
know, you can try and get photographs or videos or whatever, but I mean, nobody believes those anymore. So, what is good evidence for people who are out there working the field?
You know, I mean, biological is always best, that kind of stuff. We have all kinds of stuff in our store for actively taking fingerprints in the field, for taking DNA in the field, that kind of stuff, for storing that. And yeah, having somewhere to be able to send those things is hugely important. Having, like you said, a means by which to examine that. Those things are very, very important, as well as the meanwhile storing of that in a proper way, you know, not just the collective way. And in the way that you collect that data, whether it's a footprint or, yeah, I would say even a picture, you know, video, audio, that kind of stuff. But to me, the big thing is differentiating data from evidence. I always put it for the fact of evidence is what keeps you out of prison. That is the realm of confidence that you should have in something when you call it evidence. You should be able to hand it to your lawyer and say, this will keep me out of prison for life, or this will keep me away from the death sentence. Like that's where you should be as far as calling something evidence. Aside from that, you have a piece of data that you have collected in the field. And you have to learn to kind of dispassionately look at it as data, even when it's exciting, even when it's a wow signal moment. You know, you have to be able to dispassionately look at it, because if somebody else is able to look at it, and decode what it is or figure out what it is and get past the point of anomaly to a point of fact, then A, you don't have that point of disappointment. But B, you also don't have the setback of, well, now what do I call evidence? Your expectation of what should be evidence should be it should pass through at least 4 or 5 people of better grade than you, is how I look at it before you call something evidence. At the very least. If you're talking biological materials or something like that, it needs to go through some kind of actual testing, you know. And tracks and prints, those are absolutely awesome, but being able to get them in front of somebody who is an actual tracker in your localized area, I think is hugely important as well. Making those, if you're out and that's the kind of investigating that you're doing, making friends with local like game trackers, that's all that they do is track game professionally. Those things are important handshakes to make, I think. Because once again, you could be providing them stuff that may be invaluable data for what they do regionally. Like, oh wow, I didn't realize that, like you're bringing me a lot of brown bear prints. I didn't realize that we had that many in this area. Thanks so much for letting me know. So I think that those things are important when it comes to how do you separate data from evidence, what do you call evidence? You've got to be willing to put it through proper rigors first and be willing to let it fail. Like the idea is to literally float it out on a raft and shoot it with shotguns and see if it sinks.
Oh, that sounds fun. Not gonna lie.
Like
that sounds fun.
Can you tell I'm from Texas? Tell me you're from Texas without saying you're from Texas.
Truth. Right?
But in all sincerity, like that's where we should all be, even as experiencers, because once again, even though what's in your red circle has been proven, doesn't remove your experience. What happens is that you have now actively contributed to the scientific data set of known quantitative. And the larger we make the data set of known quantitative, the smaller the data set of phenomena and anomalous becomes. So you've contributed to the scientific process, even if you provided something that has been proven otherwise. And that's something that is so important to understand. That even if the clip that you have, even if the photo that you have has been proven to be something that may just well be out of your range of observation, because that's not what your realm of observation is, that's okay.
Just to update your YouTube channel, we need 6 more listeners.
Oh no,
we need 6 more
so
subscribers
close
to hit 1,000 for Chris tonight.
Wow.
So head on over to Curious Realm on YouTube, and
thank you everybody who's subscribed. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey man, I told you we were going to do it. We're going to do it tonight. Curious Realm.
I believe.
Me too. This is kind of awesome. I'm like totally trying.
And once again, that's a believing is a big thing that we have to keep to ourselves, like hold it close, because it's precious and it's an important thing. But we can't let our belief get in the way of data. We can't let our belief color the data that we're presented. We can't let it keep us from allowing new data into our field. I tell people all the time, people call me a skeptic like it's a nasty word, and I tell them that I wear the S on my chest like Superman, and I'm willing to whip it out anytime Superman would, because quite literally my job as a skeptic is to be looking for the data that changes my mind, not to be
But
not
I think
not
being a skeptic is healthy, though.
it's supposed to be healthy. That's just it. You're supposed to question what you believe. Whenever I taught spirituality and religion to 7th and 11th graders for like a decade, the thing I would tell them all the time was that the day you stop breathing should be the day that you stop questioning. That should be the day that you stop questioning what you believe, why you believe it. Everything else is the day that you stop drawing breath. Other than that, you should be asking questions about everything all the time, and even why you believe what you believe, and why you believe that something is a piece of evidence that you have, So yeah. And if you're willing to call all of that into question, then yeah, when you're confronted by somebody with an alternative view on the data that you have, um, it's very disarmed at that point. It's because a lot of people take it personally because of their belief.
But we also have this opinion that we have to announce that we are just so skeptical.
Yeah,
I'm the skeptic, like paranormal teams who have to have one member who's known as the team
the
skeptic. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? And the way I look at it, and by the way, we need one more subscriber now for
Oh,
1,000.
what? Oh my God.
Yeah, one more. We need one more.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole crew in our YouTube chat is
I'm not gonna be greedy. I'm happy with 999. 9 is my number, and it's a number of completion. I'm good with 999.
I want to see 1,000 because I am greedy a little bit. So you can blame that on me if you
That's all
don't
right.
mind. Oh,
I
we
I
hit it.
don't I will
We
give
hit
you
it.
one more beautiful feather to wear in your hat.
There we go. We hit 1,000 subscribers.
Oh,
Thank you,
man, look at
Space
that.
Out Radio
Thank you, guys.
listeners. Appreciate you. We
Spaced
hit
out
1,000
love.
subscribers.
Thank you.
There you go. That was a good push.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I hope you're happy with that.
I am more than happy with that. Thank you so much, man.
The point that I was getting at with skeptics
Yeah.
is I think a lot of people who are proud skeptics, never mind the deniers and the debunkers.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think too many times we think that automatically people go to the woo. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
with what we do out in the field, my buddy Tim and I, we're always looking for that sensible answer. We are always looking, okay, was that tree knock, was that a woodpecker or was that
Yeah.
a whiskey jack? What was it? Was it a chipmunk? What was the noise? And with
Yeah.
45 seconds to go before we go to break, I think the skeptical community doesn't realize that the majority of experiencers out there or people who sit there and say, well, that is a big footprint. They don't know, they don't understand that we've already debunked what it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a huge thing. It's kind of the whole idea that lack of evidence is not proof of non-existence. And just getting people to wrap their mind around that concept um is hard enough, I think.
I totally agree with you. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here.
Absolutely.
We have Chris Jordan from Curious Realm on YouTube here for another 30 minutes. We're having a great conversation. We're going to get to some audience questions as well. What we're going to do is I want to ask Chris, his point of view. Do we need the government to tell us UFOs are here? Do we need that government disclosure? Has it already happened? Because that is stressing out the UFO community. And this gentleman is going to have a good answer for it. I already know. Curious Realm on YouTube. Go check it on out and hit subscribe. We'll be right back. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, my man, we are clear.
Awesome.
Thank you so much to our SOR audience on YouTube and X and LinkedIn listening in here. Really
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate you helping Chris out tonight.
I like Walter's attitude of let's go for 2000. That's classy.
Still having fun?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good.
This is the kind of conversation that I love.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, there's been it's interesting being a fly on the wall in so many communities, and there's once again a few that I am heavily entrenched in, and to see some of the things that I've seen in like the last year and a half, I think it's just now getting to the point though where I've been entrenched in these communities long enough that like the other side has popped out, kind of like whenever you first start working at a church, that first few years, like it's great and you hear things and yeah, okay, but then once you start going to the church council meetings and everything else, you're like, holy crap, what is all this drama? Like, wow. And that's what I say all the time. It's like I'm working in a church again. Is what it feels like, with just the interspersed drama within the communities.
I think it's great.
Absolutely.
I think it's absolutely great.
It feeds a lot of things that are good, I think. But at the same token, there's a lot where it's like, man, there are some people that go to extremes. That is for certain.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Then you then you get the people out there who are like, I'm the only one who knows what I'm doing out here.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like there's a couple people that I see online all the time where it's like, wow, like all you do is just straight hate on people.
Right.
Like, and I don't know. I guess it's one of those, is curious research. My job is to stand in the middle of bridges and wave everybody into the middle, not like call in napalm strikes on the bridges I'm standing on or building.
Back in October, I had a show host, a guy who I actually respect, come into my chat room and just start carving my show, my audience, and my guest. And it was all the bullshit questions of where's the proof, where's the evidence?
Yeah.
You're lying because you're telling a story, all this kind of crap. And I unfortunately had to boot him. And the worst part about it was it came at a time where I was I'm very open, Chris, that I suffer from depression and anxiety.
Same.
And I love talking about it. Not that I brag that I have it, but I want people, especially men, to know that it's okay to talk about it.
Amen.
And I figure if I can use the platform in order to say, hey guys, I'm not right today, maybe it'll help somebody else reach out for some help. But that's a different story. But it came right at that time where I was just in a real bad funk. And after I came out of that funk, I literally came back to the audience and I said, you know what? I have 0 F's to give anymore. I don't. Like, I used to be like, no, don't block people. Don't push people out of here. They just got to learn our chat room, who we are, what we're about. Now it's like 0 tolerance. I don't have time for it, because if you're going to try and bring me down, because you don't want to listen to somebody's story, or you're going to call my guest a liar who is giving away 2 hours of their time to entertain people, you got to leave. This isn't for you.
No. And I've definitely had that. And even, without 1,000 subscribers, I have had people like hop into my chats and just blast people from agencies that I work with. And it's like, dude,
1 second here. We're coming back in 10 seconds.
No worries.
Sweet Home Oregon Sasquatch Research Group. Get a hold of me, please. I'd like to bring you guys on the air to do a show. Here we go. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We have Chris Jordan from Curious Realm on until the top of the hour here. And we're going to get into some UFO stuff momentarily. But first, I really want to make sure that you know our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From Curious Realm YouTube channel, Chris Jordan is here. And Chris, obviously, you've been following the whole UFO story, the UFO hearings in Washington, D.C., the fallout from that. Who's a whistleblower? What's a whistleblower? Who's not? What is evidence? What is proof? What are they hiding? Are you just as tired of this as I am?
You know, I view the panels that are happening and the hearings that are happening in a different way. Like I said earlier, I have never held the fact that we will get disclosure in that kind of way. We're not going to get disclosure in a means by which, like, they're going to show you wreckage or bodies in tubes or something like that. Do I think that those things are out there? Sure, and absolutely. I don't think that there's any doubt that those things are out there. I think that it's very much the way that Mr. Knapp put it. And you can think anything you want of anybody on any side of the aisle that's represented politically in there, or even as far as whistleblowers or people giving testimony this time around. But George brought up a very good point, which was the fact of all of these agencies, all of these contractors of these agencies have been given things and they've been told to defend it tooth and nail, defend it with life, guard it with your life, don't tell anybody about it. I think that literally the only truth that we as people will get is that something has been out there in the past at the very least, and that people had things. I don't think we'll ever find that out due to issues in national security, but there's a lot that we didn't find out about Iran-Contra because of national security too. But what we did was have somebody that at least was held accountable. And we at least got a few answers, and we have to remember that beautiful speech. And all of a couple years ago, I played the speech from Eisenhower, his departing speech. And if you listen to him, and especially under the understanding that he is our last general to be a president. So he took the oath to defend the Constitution and did it in a different way long before he took it politically. And when he said that, like, we gave these powers, these extra constitutional powers to agencies and heads of industry and things like that to build this industrial military complex, don't let them keep control of it. You'll never get control back. That's literally what we're up against now. We are reaping that right now. So the most that we can hope for is a being able to pull the purse string, feel where it's tied to, and then choke it off with the purse string. To try to get some answers of at least, are things out there, that kind of stuff. And once again, I think all the evidence points to that. I think it was very nefarious the way that they definitely put in a PSYOP professional as the head of Arrow. While at the same time creating a beautiful system where people can report things without actual fear of reprisal with their career. Like, there was a person actively testifying and giving his witness statement before Congress who was still a serving Navy member Like he was like a master chief. That is like a lifetime career position. But he was still active duty and had permission from the Navy to go speak from his superiors. So that's interesting to see, you know.
Do
I
we
think
need it?
go
Do we
ahead.
need it, Chris? Do we need that government disclosure?
I don't think we need Papa's permission. If you're looking at it that kind of way, no, I don't think we need Papa's permission to believe what we believe and to know what we know. However, once again, I see a lot of ire and dust kicked up in the communities of just straight out anger of like, they ain't gonna show us. No, it's like, no, they're never gonna show you that. Why would you think they ever would? Like, in all sincerity, why would you think they ever would? It is 0% in their vested interest. But what is in their vested interest is accountability of where money's spent, things like that. So it sounds weak sauce. However, never forget we got Al Capone in prison because of taxes, not because of criminal law in that kind of way. It was a paper trail that led to his conviction. And it's those kind of things that yeah, we have to look at it in a larger perspective. And the idea of it's not that we need their permission. It's more that we want to be able to hold them accountable. We want to be able to make sure that this doesn't continue, that it's not a thread of things that continues as stuff moves forward. Do we have to accept? I mean, hey, we have to accept the fact that we will never see the computer chips that government computers see in them. Like you're not going to have technology on the shelf that competes with government technology. You're just not, so those are things that we have to accept. We have to accept the classification of some things, but we also have to fully doubt and be willing to doubt things like, why would they show you a video that they can't explain?
Oh, I agree with you.
Like in
All
a
right.
in a full-on psyop kind of way. Why would they show you a video in public that they cannot explain? And like just an Occam's razor kind of way. Do I think portals play a part in cryptid lore?
Yeah, Seymour's asking if they do.
Oh well, and here's where I lie on that. Once again, I think that we are all vibration. Everything you and I right now, Dave, despite our distance apart, are sharing an electron shell by all known physics. We're all vibration, and really all that separates us from the adjoining bubble of reality, the next dimension that's literally right next door and adjacent to us, is vibration. If you're a comic book fan like I am, if you've ever watched The Flash or anything like that, Flash does it all the time where he phases through a wall by putting his hand on the wall and then vibrating his molecules at the same rate that the wall's vibrating. And then he passes straight through it. That's actual physics. So yeah, especially when you start thinking about the concepts of subharmonic sound, sounds below the range or above the range of human hearing that we know animals use, long range communication, things like that. Could it be the fact that they are using, at the very least, maybe frequencies like the one I give the example of all the time is 19 hertz? That is 1 hertz below the range of human hearing, but also the range at which the water in your eye begins to vibrate and hallucinations happen. It's also the frequency at which you feel like something is in the room with you watching you. So if something like a Sasquatch or even Dogman, something like that, was able to produce these lower end sounds that we can't hear, but our bodies feel and react to in that kind of way, is it a portal, or is it the fact that they're actively just warping the way that we see the reality around us, by warping our eye or the water within it? These are just some interesting concepts. So I don't know if there is physically necessarily a portal that is opened in like a wormhole SG-1 Stargate kind of way. But is it the fact that they may be able to vibrate themselves to a point of getting through that, or passing through that veil? I think that is quite literally possible. And that's a lot of what they're talking about with UFO, UAP activity, things like that, is the fact that it is a vibrational thing and something that is kind of passing through as it's happening, at least the ones that are not man-made. Once again, that definition, like you said, UAP is man-made, UFO not being so.
Let's go to another question here from our audience.
Sure
Let's
thing.
follow up with T-Bone here. Chris, have you come across any Fey or Puck Wedgie type creatures?
I know quite a few people who actually investigate into those things, but I have not personally come across any. Actually, respectfully, I will say otherwise. I have int, and I just dealt with int today. Int is something that lives around me, and I mean, this thing happens all the time. My wife has literally witnessed it happen, where I have put something down and gone right back, and it's gone. And then come like looked for it, and 10 minutes later gone right back to that spot, and it's there. And that happened to me twice today. I'm busy getting a lot of gear ready for a show out of town. And twice today that happened to me. And int has been with me for years and years. So I would say that, yes, that would be my Fey experience in that kind of world. When it comes to Puck Wedgie and things like that, I know a few people from when I lived in the Maine area, stuff like that, who had done a little bit of investigation into that, and at least into the folklore of the area, dealing with that. So, yeah.
Let's give T-Bone the hat trick here.
All right.
Chris, what is your I know what I saw moment?
My I know what I saw, and this is where this comes down to belief for me, and why I will always believe the experiencer until proven otherwise. Because I was a true believer of true believers. Like I had an experience when I was 16 years old. I'd been a faithful altar server, Roman Catholic, for many, many years. And in the middle of Mass one day, I looked up, and the entire world was covered in, it was like it was covered in like cellophane, like tangerine colored cellophane. And everything sounded like it was underwater. And that happened for a few minutes in the middle of Mass. And I felt more love than I have ever. The only time I've felt that love is the day I got married and the day I held my son. That's it. I'm welling up right now thinking about it. That is the feeling that I know to be my creator. That is the feeling that I know to be the opposite of run away from that. Whatever that is, run away from that. And that feeling actively led me to enter the seminary. I left a year later. I spent many years in youth ministry after, teaching and things like that. But that was my I know what I saw moment. Nobody will, and it may be the fact one day, T-Bone, that they scan my brain, that I go into the doctor or something like that, and they like, oh my God, you had that happen? That's a form of petit mal seizure. That does not remove that beautiful moment that changed my life and that led me down this entire path of exploring what is my connection to something greater than me and deeper than me and what I've ever understood. And that's my I know what I saw moment. That would be it. Like that's led me down the road of everything and the other experiences that I have had where, yeah, I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. Like I remember the night that a shadow person grabbed me. I know what I experienced. Whether that can be statically proven by science through repetitious means in a lab, I don't think so. But it's at least the first few parts of the scientific method where there was an observation and an experience. There was a gathering of data after the experience and a questioning of what the experience was. So from there, it moves into different forms of science. But yeah, um, I'm a believer's believer because of that day. Thank
It's
you for the
amazing,
question, T-Bone.
and I love that you shared that story because that is something that, really gets to the heart of people like you, like me, and why we do what we do
Yeah.
is because this has affected us on such an emotional level
Yeah.
of misunderstanding and not understanding what is truly going on outside of our 3D world that we have to do something about it. It's our calling and our duty,
Yeah.
not to the people around us. It is selfish. We do it for ourselves because
Absolutely.
we can't find the answers to
Yep.
what is going on. And so I commend you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And honestly, that's what I used to every year, whether it was 7th grade, 11th grade, or senior year, or even RCIA, I ended every year's last class with, "Hey, everything I told you this year may have been a lie. Go look it up, go find out, go explore, go question." But in addition to that, it's the fact of, we've got to be open to that. We've got to be open to the experience. The universe is a slinky, and a slinky does nothing if you don't push it. It just sits there, all kind of bound up potential energy. But if you don't push the universe, it doesn't move. You have to be the one to push. You got to put your effort in. You got to put the work in. And yeah.
Let's
Thank
go to
you.
the unknown here.
Absolutely.
What is the one case or experience you've investigated that still gives you the chills even after all the years in the field?
I had a friend of mine when I first came up with Curious Research. I was telling a friend of mine about video editing and photo editing, and she sent me a picture that I use in my presentations. I don't have it in my system, otherwise I'd bring it up. But it was a picture that she took of a house across the street, and it looks like something's in the window. And when you start enlarging it, you can see it. But once you start putting it through processing, this thing takes on like full shape. And there is like dimensionality where it curves around the backside and has shadow that is projected from that. So it's like, this is a 3-dimensional thing. Whatever this is that's just in the middle of this is real, it's there, and it is 3-dimensional. Like, it's an actual thing with presence.
I have to ask, was that the alien in the window from Anne Celine?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that photo.
Yeah. And if you saw the processed stuff, that was me. So yeah, that one was one that was just like, wow, okay, that's creepy stuff, man. That's really wild. And personally, I would say that the most chilling experience that I've had was definitely I was probably about 4 years old. And this is where when I said that feeling of warmth and beauty, and how it was directly the opposite, this is the direct opposite. And this is something that still chills me every day. I was very young. We lived in a house. Our neighbors lived back behind us in a little field, and we had like one of those rickety tetanus swing sets, from the late 1970s, where it's like, you touch it, you're going to get cut. But you got to go swing. And there I was looking out from our house to our neighbor's house, in the back. And there was this shadowy figure. The only way I can describe it is it was the devil. Like, it looked like the devil from a can of ham. Like, it was a shadowy figure with horns, and it was beckoning me to come out. And that is the first time in my life that I remember feeling fear, and that I remember feeling the utter feeling of dread and get away from here now. But being frozen, being absolute. And when people say, like, I saw a Sasquatch. Well, why didn't you take a picture? Like, I couldn't move, man. That was the feeling. That was the feeling. Like, and it sticks with me to this day. And it is what I know as the sensation of needing to run, needing to get away from this right now. Whatever this is, I need to not be in the presence of it. Yeah. And that is one of the first memories of my life, is that moment.
Let's get in one more question here before we
Absolutely.
say goodnight to you, because we only got 2.5 minutes, and this goes to Leacham. Is there any cryptid, ET, or phenomena in general that scares you?
More than anything, it's us. Like my friend Chester Moore said, there's nothing more dangerous in the woods than us. We are the most frightening thing. And with all of these things, with all of this, it's us, I think, that frightens me the most, because it's us that will hold it against each other. It's us that will deride each other because of an experience. It's us that will call somebody's experience into such question that it will lead them into those doldrums of depression and things like that societally. Leacham, and or do you prefer the spicy lizard? But it's one of those. To me, I think that's the most dangerous thing. That's the scariest thing, is the want to belittle somebody for their experience, and the want to make people feel other than.
No, I get you there. My friend, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time tonight.
Thank you.
I hope we did you some justice, because I know you did with not only myself and our audience, and very proud to help you push over 1,000 subscribers tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
We are live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central U.S. time with Curious Realm. Always new content, never repeat, never taken a night off, never done a best of. In addition, you can find everything at Curious Research. You can find the observation and encounter log there, pocket size, ready for your investigations. It even has a scientific measure on the back for you to be able to take photographs and stuff like that. So when you have it in your back pocket, you can lay it right down next to that track, take a picture of it, have a known size quantitative, things like that. So yeah, you can find everything, including the protocols for awakening together, all that kind of good stuff at curiousresearch.org.
Chris, I appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. An absolute pleasure. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Then Katie Page will be here for a new feature that we call The Encounters. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. What a great show, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. That was absolutely incredible. What a great way to spend my night.
Appreciate it. Keep in touch. I'd like to do this again.
Absolutely. Same here. I'd love to have you on Curious Realm to talk about things. And hey, you ever need somebody, like, I'm self-employed, bud. This is all in my house. So You ever,
Let's do
you
it.
ever need somebody to just hop on a show, you let me know, all right?
I will,
Always
definitely.
available.
I'll put you in the base.
Take care. Have a
Thanks,
great
Chris.
night. Thank you
All
for
right.
everything.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Katie, I know you're listening in. I'll be back in a couple of minutes, okay?
Apparently, I forgot to turn off the speaking button. So here we are, sneak in while Dave's gone up to let the dog man and Sasquatch out for a pee. Just draw a quick cartoon here for advertisement purposes. This is gonna be a cartoon for so I can make my ads for the Saturday show, all fancy dancy and everything and like that. So it's like, oh, what? Instead of having as much as I that was Tim of the Upside Down Eyeball did for me, make a couple little drawings for some thumbnails. It's gonna be awesome. And then I'll have some fancy things for thumbnails for the weekend show. Excellent. And if anyone's wondering, the gremlin and the gargoyle are just sitting there on top of the printer, as they usually are. Let me scroll up here for 1 second. Oh yes. Oh yeah, Paramarv. Jeez. By the way, I have a new book out. Just plug in Cryptid Cartoons Volume 2 on Amazon. It'll be there. Much like I am here right now. And if you ever buy one and you go to Spaced Out Radio thing and we're hanging out in Junk Hall, I will sign your book and nope.
Oh my.
Hijack.
Gets it.
You hijack, Dave.
Look at this.
Yeah. Hi, Dave.
Dirty Phil's so excited Katie's coming on that he jumps on in. Beautiful. I love this. I know Katie's going to be excited. Let's bring her in. Let's say hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie. Your mic is muted.
Good evening.
How you
Good
doing, beautiful?
evening.
I'm doing good. I took a power nap a little bit, so I'm like
Yeah.
getting my second wind going here. All you
You know
night
what's-
owls.
You know what's funny? Is people in my town are all excited because the first wall of our first McDonald's is up on the building. So people in my town are going like crazy right now. Oh, there's a wall up.
Nuggets.
There's a wall up.
Nuggets.
Mhm.
But what about a Taco Bell, Dave? Have you
Apparently,
guys not put your
Taco Bell
petition in yet?
You're coming. Excited.
What's your
Big
favorite
Mac
thing on the
tonight,
McDonald's menu? What do you order?
Big Mac combo without pickles and a McChicken burger.
All right, another no pickle lover. I'm a no pickle person too.
We have
Wow.
8 seconds, people. So I'll get you to mute up. Katie, we're going to play Swamp Dweller for 4 minutes, and then you're on.
Oh, okay.
Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Swamp Dweller and Katie Page with a new feature on Spaced Out Radio called The Encounters coming up here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quab. Quab is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hi, Swamp Dweller. My name is Seth. During the summer of 2020, I moved to the South Georgia area near the Okefenokee Swamp. There are tons of alligators and snakes everywhere here. In case some people may or may not know, it is the biggest swamp in the United States as it corners the southeast part of the state and into northern Florida. Anyways, my house sits on the edge of a canal, which is about 10 miles from a state park. Nothing but deep forests surround the 4-bedroom house. Plenty of late nights I can hear gators hissing from the water as I sit on my back porch. The porch sits alone on the upper floor right above the main level porch. It has no stairs, so I'm at a safe distance away from any of the wild predators that could be lurking around, like black bears, coyotes, hogs, and from what I hear, the occasional jaguar. One night I am on the porch having my second beer, and I hear something from an echo. It was coming from the water, and it sounded like a loud wailing creature. I thought to myself, this is fresh water. What on earth would be in the swamp that could sound like that? Is there something in the swamp that I don't know about? The creature got closer to my house as it made its final sound. That is when things got extremely quiet. All the crickets and frogs came to an abrupt stop. That is when I tensed up. On my table was my spotlight, so I grabbed it and shined the light directly into the water where I had been feeling the creature would be. I saw something tremendous, but I could not see the creature. I saw a huge wake of water rising as I stood up in fear. My chair falls off its legs. Whatever this thing is, sure was not an alligator. Not even a full-length 12 to 14-foot adult could do what I was witnessing right now. I've hunted plenty of gators with friends during the season. I've never heard of anything else that lives in the swamp that could be like this. I get more frightened the more I think about it. About a week later, my buddy asked me if I wanted to go hunt more gators. It was a tough decision for me, but as much as I love gator hunting, I finally said yes and asked my wife if it was fine. She gave me the approval since she did not have any plans for the day, and we headed out into his boat. We began the day by checking the crawfish traps that he had set up as I started to load the rifle and put all 40 gator tags in the box. I had told him about last night and asked if he had ever heard anything like this or had some sort of experience similar. He stopped the boat before we got to the 5th trap, and he said that he had lost a relative to this so-called creature about 4 years ago on a late night that nobody has ever been able to explain, and nobody has ever seen this thing. But the sound that it makes is the same thing that I heard that night. The way he explained it almost gave me chills. I felt so bad for his loss, though, as he started to tear up a little, and I told him how sorry I was. He never spoke about it after that, but we had a great day catching over 100 pounds of crawfish and 13 gators from 9 to 11 feet long. It was quite an impressive day for us. Later that night, he wanted to go back to the water to catch some frogs. This is when it happened again. I went with him with my 30-aught rifle, just in case. I could not let him go alone, but at the same time, I was fearing for our lives as we got into the boat and the water. The creature was at a greater distance this time from its echo, so we tried to hurry and catch up to the 20 frogs that we needed to meet our goal. We could hear the creature getting closer and making huge splashes yet again. We did not waste any more time to stop and hurriedly caught the last few frogs. As soon as we caught the last one, we turned the boat engine on and scrambled out of the area. He gave me half of all the catches he had. Our family and friends had a feast the next day. We decided to never go catching frogs that late ever again. We still don't know what this creature was, but it still haunts us to this day.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story we have for you to play each and every night to kick off hour number 3. If you want to listen to more Swamp Dweller, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and you get thousands of stories right there for free. We have an amazing new feature here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to call it the Encounters, where Katie Page from Rocky Mountain Research is going to come in once a week to tell us some weird, strange, spooky encounters. Here we go.
From Rocky Mountains, here comes Katie Page. Only on Spaced Out Radio. Katie will creep us, yeah, it's time for the SOR's Encounters.
Katie Page, welcome to the Spaced Out Radio family. Do you like your new theme song?
It's very upbeat and catchy. I like it.
I noticed a little shock when you heard your name said on it.
I did. This is a first for me. Thank you for having me every Wednesday night. This is a treat. So I have never done anything like this before, and I had to Katieise it. So, I decided to make this encounter segment a little learning adventure for all of us. I'm a little ADHD, right, Dave? You know that, right? So
Yes.
in order to organize my thoughts, I thought every week what we're going to do, starting with Alabama, we're going to feature a state. We'll go alphabetical order. So next week will be Alaska. So I would love to see in the chat if we have anybody from Alabama. And in the future, if anybody, next Wednesday, we're going to focus on Alaska. And if anybody has a cool encounter story they would like me to cover, you can go to RockyMountainRanchResearch.org or katiepage.net and send me your encounter stories, and maybe I'll share them on the segment too. But for tonight, we're going to start with the good old state of Alabama. And I thought I would use this as a learning opportunity so I can learn about each individual state. And then I thought it would be fun. Maybe at the end of all this, we'll put it in a little booklet or something for everybody, right? Maybe put it on my Patreon page or something. I don't know.
I love it. I love it.
I'm going to collect them. Look at this. I made a book. I'm going to collect them. We're going to go state by state.
All right. Also, before you get started, okay, I love helping out YouTube channels, especially for friends of mine. And you recently had a little snafu on your YouTube channel where you literally lost it and had to rebuild it. So
I did.
I want to
my own fault. It wasn't like it was taken down either. I literally had 2 channels, and It said I was deleting the one with 3 subscribers in one video. It popped and I deleted it thinking I was safe, and it wasn't. It deleted my main channel. And I was that close to being able to. Anyway, it was a sad, sad day, but I'm rebuilding it. So thank you for mentioning that.
Well, we encourage all of our Spaced Out Radio listeners to go on YouTube, type in Rocky Mountain Ranch Research. That's Katie Page's channel. And make sure what you do is you hit subscribe, ring that bell. Let's try and get her back to over 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. Make sure you watch all her videos too, so she can monetize the channel as well.
Yeah.
What do you
even
got
if
for
you
us,
have to,
Val,
even
now?
if you have to put it on mute while you're cooking dinner or something, and you don't want to listen to it, hey, it doesn't know it if it's running in the background. But yeah, it's a slow process. I'm not even quite yet to 300. So I would really appreciate all your help and support out there. If you could just go hit that subscribe button, that helps me out a lot. So I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you. And thank you to everybody out there. So Alabama. So, okay. These are encounter stories, and I want to just start with one of the first encounters that really kind of set off Project Sign. So Project Sign became before Project Grudge, and then of course Project Blue Book. But this is a famous sighting out of Alabama, and I like this sighting a lot because it is a pilot sighting. 2 pilots with thousands of hours are flying in there. Was it a DC-8, I believe? No, a DC-3. And looking at pictures of the old DC-3s, oh my gosh. So this was back in 1948. And back in 1948, first of all, I think you're brave flying any airplane back in those days, but they had these big, huge, comfy seats, right? So we have two pilots flying near Montgomery, Alabama, and they see what they described as a torpedo-shaped UFO in the sky, and they only watch it for 10 seconds. But if you think about it, 10 seconds is fairly long. It was long enough for these pilots to draw what they saw. And I mean, it looked like it had 2 rows of windows. It had this red light out of it. And the skeptics say, well, it could have just been, a comet or an asteroid or something like that. But these pilots have thousands of hours of flight time, fought in World War II, military pilots, commercial pilots, and they were quite confident that comets do not fly at a level trajectory and then shoot up. Comets typically fall down, right? So this was a really important sighting. And what really makes this cool is I can kind of relate it to the Snippy case in 1967. They saw something very similar. This particular craft too reported of having a blue light on it as well. So again, this is the Childs Whitted sighting from July 24th, 1948. And there was an hour earlier, there was a second witness on the ground. He was a chief ground crew from Robbins Air Force Base. And he witnessed this same craft, described it almost identical to what the pilots described an hour earlier from the ground. So that's a third witness. And then we have a fourth witness. One of the passengers also spotted from his passenger window this same craft. And one of the arguments for this craft is that maybe it was a V2 rocket. But why that doesn't work is because, as most of you know, with Project Paperclip, they brought over, the Russian scientists and stuff, but they were actually stationed in Texas. And there in Alabama, we have the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, but that didn't really get started till 1950. And there was a second rocket. It was a little larger than the V2 rocket called the Redstone rocket. But that never launched out of Huntsville. And that first flight was in 1953. So, I really like this case too, because it really ruled out the V2 rocket, the Redstone rocket, and any other craft like that. So that is the UFO sighting out of Alabama. Now let's get into the cryptid sighting. So one of the most famous cryptids in the state of Alabama is called the White Thing. And here's a picture of the White Thing. And I love this cryptid story because, again, this reminds me of the cryptid out at the Rocky Mountain Ranch in Colorado. These are white, 7 to 8 foot hairy creatures with red glowing eyes. You know, they don't smell too great. And this is spotted quite often in northern Alabama. What I thought was interesting about this, some people say that the White Thing doesn't have any eyes. It runs super fast and it will get down on all fours, very much like a skinwalker type. So I wonder if it can morph its shape like that. Some say it will, when it gets down on all fours, the White Thing will resemble a lion or a sloth, which is kind of funny because sloths are so slow. So I'm like, how can they compare it to a lion and a sloth at the same time? But the sound the White Thing makes sounds like a screaming woman. So that is Alabama's cryptid, the White Thing.
That is creepy. You know, Tim James, when we were out at Flight 21 a couple weeks ago, he actually saw something white that he thought was a wolf running on
really?
the moors. And we went looking for it. It disappeared. And it's funny because Robin Haynes, in her breakdown, she wasn't even there. She doesn't even know the area. And I said to her, what happened? What happened, Robin? Tell us what happened. And she said, yeah, I'm getting the image of, there were 3 of them there. There was a blonde one, a cinnamon colored one, and a white one that was kind of running on all fours. She goes and says this, right? And we're like, how the hell do you know that? How do you know that? So yeah, these white ones are weirdly awesome.
Right. And the ones in Elbert County were called the White Fuzzies. So we got the White Thing and the White Fuzzy. And it'll be kind of interesting as we go state to state every week to see what the cryptids are and how they vary from state to state. Like, I really kind of want to, like, what is, you know how you have a state bird and a state flower and a state tree? We're going to have state cryptids. That's our goal here on Spaced Out Radio. State radio. And so the strangest encounter in Alabama, I love this one too, because you know me, I love the 70s. It's sort of like my decade of focus. So I came across this strange encounter from Falkville, Alabama. It happened October 17th, 1973. And I like this case too because it involves a police officer. Around 10 o'clock at night, he gets a phone call from a woman who was very frightening because a UFO had landed in a nearby field. So he's like, oh, it's probably a prank. There's nothing to it. I'll go check it out. So he goes to her property and he's on patrol, doesn't see anything. He's watching for 15, 20 minutes and nothing's going on. Lady must be a little batty or whatever. So he gets in his patrol car and starts to leave the ranch. And this is kind of creepy, standing in the road, not making any sound, standing on this dirt gravel road. He sees this ET, says it's about 6 feet tall, wearing a reflective metal suit, like foil. And what's funny about this to me too in the 70s, so it says it looked like it had an antenna on its head, no facial features, no eyes, no mouth. Only the green haw. It said none that the green haw could see, no features that the police officer could see. He stopped the car. He took out the camera and snapped a few photos. The creature didn't speak. It didn't move towards him, at least not immediately. Then reportedly it turned and ran off, moving unnaturally fast and disappeared into the field or woods. Now, what's really interesting about this kind of robotic metal suited creature that is standing in the road that this officer sees, it's also very similar to Tubby Guy and some of the other reports that are really well known for that decade, right? The 1970s, we had a lot of these antennae or helmeted ET creatures and stuff like that. But so that was kind of a funny case. What do you think of that, Dave?
I love those type of encounters that come from like the 50s through the 70s where police officers run into things. You know, it reminds me of the Frogmen of Ohio type story. And one thing about policing back then, And I think one of the issues that we have, Katie, is at times we try and look at things with a 2025 mindset, not a 1956 or a 1971 mindset where people at that time trusted the police and their word, and they were actually doing community service, not policing. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
And
especially in these rural areas like that, these small towns, out there. They were almost, I mean, they were very embedded into the communities, like you said. They drove their patrol cars home at night, kind of thing.
absolutely, absolutely. So hearing this story from this police officer is amazing. I wish more police would do that today. Like, I've talked to a number of Royal Canadian Mounted Police in my town about a lot of the weird and strange stuff. And I actually have one Mountie who will come up to me every time he sees me. Hey man, you got any new Sasquatch stories? But they've told me, numerous officers have told me that you wouldn't believe in my area how many times they get called out to haunted houses where people see a shadow in their house and immediately call the police, or they hear something big walking through their property in a rural area and they call police. I'm like, I said to them many a times, the police, I said, call me.
Yeah.
I know how to deal with that stuff. Call me.
I know. Isn't that so true? People used to call the police for hauntings. And speaking of hauntings, I'll end it with because I every week too, I want to do a UFO ET sighting, a
Love
cryptid
it.
sighting, and a paranormal one. So for the Alabama, their famous paranormal ghost is out of Huntington College. And this story, I guess this woman in red has said to haunt this college campus for decades. She, unfortunately, she was very quiet, very withdrawn when she was alive, when she was a student there. This used to be a women's college, and then later it opened up to both of the sexes. When she was there, I believe it was both sexes, if I'm correct on that, I'm pretty sure. But she had like red drapes in her dorm room, wore red shoes, red dresses, everything was red. And so she's known as a lady in red. And she, is seen going in and out of walls or standing at the foot of your bed. But she unfortunately did take her life there at the college. So she has said to haunt that campus for a very long time. So she's known as the Lady in Red.
Wow.
Yeah. Which reminds me of the Lady in White. There's a famous cemetery in Chicago. I went on a ghost tour and they have a lady in white at the cemetery there. So we have all these ladies in different colored dresses. So that is my Alabama for today. How are we doing on time?
We got 1 minute.
Oh,
And
good.
I just want to ask one thing from you. As you go state by state,
Mm-hmm.
I'd appreciate if you went province by province and territory by territory too.
Oh, that will be very, very educational for me so I can learn all about Canada while I'm at it. I love that. I will add that.
I love it.
What
Tell
a
everybody
challenge.
where they
What
can
a
find
challenge.
your YouTube channel.
My YouTube is Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Page. Just type that in, you will find it. My website is RockyMountainRanchResearch.org, or you can go to Katie Page, and that's PAIGE.net. And if you guys, next week will be Alaska. So if anybody has any encounters from Alaska, send them to me, and maybe we'll talk about them next Wednesday night.
I love it. Katie Page, everybody, in a new feature that we call the Encounters here on Spaced Out Radio. Katie will join us midweek each and every week. I love her. She's one of my favorite people in this field, and so glad she's part of it. Dave 101 is next. This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott. Katie, if you want to take this segment and clip it and put it on your channel for views and ratings and everything, just tag Spaced Out Radio in it. But you're
Okay.
more than welcome to.
Thank you. I might do that.
It will give you a little bit more different content too on what we're doing.
I love it. Well, have a good rest of the show, guys.
Thank you. You
All
were
right.
amazing.
We'll
I hope
see
you
you.
had fun.
See you next Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
Katie Page, everybody. She is amazing. We love her around here. We do. We're going to say goodnight to her. Night, Katie.
Good night.
Katie Page, how awesome is she? What a score for us to get her on the show with us. Absolute score. She's amazing. Yeah, I love her theme song. I'll play it one more time because it's fun. Where did I put it here? Oh, here it is.
From the Rocky Mountains, here comes Katie Page. Rolling on Space Out Radio. Katie will creep us, yeah, it's time for neon SORC counters.
Dirty filth.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, dirty.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, dirty.
I poured myself a nice glass of tea. How's your night going, Dave?
What do you think I should talk about for my Dave 101? I got a couple ways I could go here. What do you think? Cryptid,
Have you?
UFO, or paranormal?
You know what I think you should talk about? UFO, Dave. That's what we should go with.
All right.
But you know what I really want people to talk about? I know you're not a big fan of it, but the Panama green glob, black glob. I have to draw that as a cartoon sometime soon, but what do you think about it, Dave? Keeps doing it. Someone's gonna have some entertainment value in all of this stuff. What if he's actually telling the truth and he actually has a spiky green meteorite? Like everybody's watched Creep Show before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. What if he's actually got an alien and that's the catastrophic disclosure or whatever they're calling it.
You're a catastrophic art closure. By the way, you'll be really happy. I got a beautiful stand for your book that I could show off in the showroom now or in the studio now.
I appreciate that.
I got to get one more. So when I get volume 2, that way I can put it up there as well.
I'm already hammering away at volume 3, Dave. There's 98 drawings for volume 3 so far. I have no idea where I came up with this stuff.
I love it. I love it. I still think you need to do I can't even speak. I would love it if you did a cartoon on Tim and I sitting in the lawn chairs with Sasquatch farting in the forest.
Well, just text me a message of that so I can put it into the queue of things that I've gotten.
Well, it's recorded here now.
Well, yeah, but I still have to write it down. 1 second.
That would be funny though.
J Truth Seeker. Did you know that J Truth Seeker is actually the J stands for justice, and he's a paladin. He fights all evil in the world.
Here I thought it was Jumbo Shrimp.
Ooh, I like Jumbo Shrimp.
I do like a good Jumbo Shrimp. I do. All right. Big thank you tonight to Pam, T-Bone, my man, and Dutch Hank, Polly Rotterman, Trucker Andrew, Walter Kochabinski, Alaska's greatest athlete, and AJ for the amazing super chats tonight. Appreciate your love and support. Don't forget to support Dirty Filth. Go to filthy.com and make sure you pick up some great art because, Christmas is around the corner and your family would love a Dirty Filth book or a piece of original art right there. All right, here we go, everybody. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free. We keep them that way for you on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the week, that time of the night, where I yell at each and every one of you to get off my lawn. It's the Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave. Dave, D-A-V-E.
All right, we're going to get into the UFO subject tonight because it's been a while since I ranted on that. And I figured, what the heck? It's that time to finally go down the rabbit hole of ufology. And my big question to each and every one of you is, do you really want disclosure? What would disclosure mean to you? Well, if testimony is anything that we saw just a couple of weeks ago, it really shows the massive cover-up that is going on. George Knapp did a phenomenal job at calling out the government officials for the cover-up, saying, follow the money trail. Follow it. It leads right out of Washington, D.C. into the hands of government contractors in the military-industrial complex. And because they can't be FOIA'd, they get to hide anything they want, including disclosure. Now, what would disclosure mean to you? What would it look like? Because to all of us, it looks a little bit different than what my disclosure would mean compared to your disclosure, and so on and so forth. For instance, my disclosure means everything. And as much as it may hurt when we rip the Band-Aid off, it needs to be done. So, what does my disclosure look like? Well, I want to see inside that little Pandora's box, sitting inside the Pentagon, probably 78 stories below the building, probably has some sort of spotlights in it and is in some guarded UFC type cage surrounding it, okay, with like landmines surrounding that. So that way, like, nobody can get in there. And inside that Pandora's box is probably some incredible stories. To me, disclosure coming out of that UFO Pandora's box means, what technology does the United States government have? Are they currently in contact with alien species or intercepting any type of radio signal from these extraterrestrials that could be cause for concern or cause for enlightenment? This Pandora's box would also wonder whether or not the Eisenhower story, where he traded humans for ETs, or pardon me, for ET technology in order to advance the technology on this planet, did that happen? What about Bob Lazar? What about David Adair's rocket? What about so many different stories like Roswell, J-Rod, and many more? These are the stories and the encounters that I believe opens up disclosure. Look, if you are a supporter of the United States government talking about UAP, or they're talking about UFOs or aliens, little green men, whatever the topic may be, remember that the government is very, very good at controlling narratives. A lot of people in the UFO world will sit there and say, I don't care what the narrative is. We just want disclosure. We want the president of the United States to stand up at the White House podium and say, my fellow Americans, we have confirmed we are not alone in this universe. Extraterrestrials have been coming here for centuries, and get used to it. And they're really good aliens. They're the best. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? That's not the disclosure we need. This opens up so many doors that if it isn't opening up the doors for you, they might as well keep things closed forever and ever. Why? Well, let's face it. Disclosure has a lot of impact on society. The idea that aliens have been here for millennia or are currently on their way here or wherever they may be, if they have bases under the ocean or bases inside mountains like Mount Shasta, we need to know about it. There are 8 billion people on this planet that this story is going to affect. There's only a couple of subject matters that would affect every person on the planet. A major nuclear catastrophe, a polar shift, creating maybe a new ice age. That would kind of suck for a lot of people. What else would? Aliens. Maybe an asteroid coming from space, like the movie Armageddon. I don't know. That may hurt too. But there are certain subjects, and there are very few, that will affect everybody on the planet. Whether you live in the concrete jungles of North America, or you live in the real jungles of, say, Southeast Asia, or South America, Africa, wherever it may be, the middle of Australia, people will be affected by any ET contact. And the fact that they may be hiding aircraft, alien bodies, DNA, time travel, or whatever it may be, maybe multidimensional jumping, okay, it doesn't matter. That is disclosure. If you want the controlled time, you don't want to drive the Lamborghini, you're happy driving your 1986 Toyota Corolla because, hey, you got wheels to get around. It's the same example. I want the public to know about what is being hidden, because until we uncover the truth of what's been held from us in the past, there is no way this subject can move forward without giving us information. Not grainy videos from a FLIR camera off an F-18 Super Hornet. That doesn't count. We need the real videos. As I said earlier in the show, when our guest Chris Jordan brought up NASA, NASA has been lying to us for years. We need that information. Their astronauts have come out. Their test pilots have come out. Their scientists have come out. Okay. There is record on public knowledge, and you can go listen and hear it and read it for yourself, where you have scientists and transcripts talking about alien and UFO encounters, whether it was on the moon or whether it was test flights and test rockets going up into space from Gemini right up to the shuttle program, and probably today with SpaceX. It is happening. We have a right to know, as much as the government says, no. You don't have a right to know. You just be happy people with what you got. Pay your taxes and shut your mouth. That's exactly the way we are treated about this subject. So what disclosure do you want for you? Personally, I will not be satisfied until everything is out in the open. You would think after almost 80 years, 78 to be exact, that we would know about Roswell, but we don't. We just celebrated the 73rd anniversary of the Flatwoods Monster in West Virginia, where this alien metallic thing was seen floating above the ground by 4 young men. They ran home to call the police car to come catch whatever this thing was. They noticed it and learned about it after seeing a fireball come down in the sky, and they went to investigate after stopping their football game. And all they saw was this greasy type goo in the forest. This creature was never seen again. Stanton Friedman, the late nuclear physicist, calls it one of the greatest encounters of ET that he's ever studied. It's a badass story. We need to know, is that real or not? What does the government know? Okay. Imagine if the story of J-Rod is real. Okay. For people who don't know who J-Rod is, okay, this is an alien gray that was said to be at Area 51. Okay. And there's a lot of controversy about this story because apparently J-Rod was a survivor of the 1953 Kingman UFO crash, and then allegedly was transferred to Area 51, where he helped work with the U.S. government to reverse engineer alien technology. Now, whether or not this story is true, we'll never know because it's in that UFO Pandora's box. Okay, so apparently there were a few bodies that did not survive the Kingman crash. J-Rod was very helpful and apparently helped the U.S. government and former Navy pilot Bill Uhouse learn about this technology until the mid-1960s. The alien communicated through speech but sounded like a parrot, primarily offering scientific and engineering advice. Some accounts suggest J-Rod was not an alien, but a human from the future whose species split after an Earth catastrophe, developing insectoid-type traits. You know, Dan Burrish has talked about this story as well, about whether or not this happened. This is a very controversial story indeed. But do you not think that that falls under the disclosure movement? I personally do. We want to make sure that these stories come out. Okay? If they don't, we're being ripped off. So I ask you once again, what is disclosure to you? Because the infighting that we are seeing within social media platforms, especially X, are getting extremely toxic and pushing people away because of the way people are treating people. And you would think that we might learn from some of that, considering recent history around the United States and North America and the world. We're not in a happy place right now. And if you push it onto the UFO subject, it doesn't get any better. It really doesn't. People are treating people like garbage. For what? UFOs and aliens? Come on. We can do better. We should strive to do better. Yes, we need to let the science talk, but if they continue the disclosure topic, we're just going to keep going around in circles. A lot of the bigwigs in this field already believe that there is no disclosure to be had. Eventually, there's going to be a giant cover-up coming up, and basically the bigwigs coming out saying, okay, people, you've had enough of this. It's time to push this subject under the rug where it belongs. And then we're going to be back to square one. I think we may have got a little greedy and probably deserve that. But anyways, the stories are way much better than the information at all. But we still have some hard hitters who are still trying to move the process forward. And kudos to them for continuing to work on it. Now, this could be a number of people. Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. Somebody like George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Christopher Sharp from the Liberation Times, many others, Ross Coulthart, another one. You may not like their work. You may not agree with their work. But the fact is, as long as they have the information line open, we're going to be moving slower and slower, but we're still going to be moving the ball forward. So instead of, say, a timeline of 3 years of something happening, maybe it happens in the next 50 years. And I think that might be actually the story behind it all. They may not believe that we're ready for it now. The world is a bastion of brutality right now. Do we really need to know that aliens are here to throw another wrench in the cog machine? I don't think we do. And that might be one of the reasons why they're not disclosing disclosure. That's your Dave 101. Let's get to the news.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises!
I am good at things, fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
Have you got your Halloween costume picked out yet? Well, maybe it's time. But there was a big lawsuit that just finished up. Hershey's received a treat this past week when a judge dismissed a lawsuit claiming the company's Reese's candies tricked customers by depicting spooky Halloween designs on their packaging, while the unwrapped chocolates were, in fact, featureless. U.S. District... How did this even get to court? Seriously, somebody sued Hershey's because their candies didn't look like little pumpkins? This is where we're at, people. This is where we're at. Anyways, Judge Melissa Damian ruled that consumers who filed the class action lawsuit really failed to show the lack of confectionery details on the chocolate and peanut butter candies, such as missing mouths and eyes on a jack-o'-lantern, ghosts, and other Halloween-themed figures, had caused them economic harm. Oh, BS, it caused you economic harm. You know what? This is where I'm glad the judge threw this case out, said, get out of my courtroom. We're wasting time on this. You know, this is where the dumb of humanity comes in. The lawsuit focused on several Hershey candies that are marketed around Halloween, including its Reese's Peanut Butter Pumpkins and its Reese's White Ghosts, as well as a few other holiday-themed chocolates like Reese's Peanut Butter Shapes, Assortment, Snowmen, Stockings, and Bells. The original lawsuit, filed in 2024, claimed that Hershey used deceptive advertising because the artistic designs depicted on the wrappers were absent from the actual candies. But the difference between the wrappers and the chocolates' actual appearance wasn't enough to prove concrete economic injury. Damian wrote, of course it shouldn't. You know what? Some people should just be happy that they're doing something. These people are ridiculous. I can't even, that story's going to upset me. I got to stop. All right. Let's go to San Francisco, where residents of a San Francisco Bay Area city are on the lookout. Why? Because there is one badass squirrel that has sent 2 people to the emergency room for medical treatment already. Joan Hellblack says that she was walking in the Lucas Valley neighborhood of San Rafael when all of a sudden she heard the theme song Bad to the Bone, and this little secret squirrel with a bandana on. I'm joking here a little bit, but take this squirrel for a second. Just let me paint a colorful picture. Well, it seemingly came out of nowhere and attacked her leg, clawing her and biting her. It clamped down onto my leg. The tail was flying up here. I was like, get it off me, get it off me. Isabel Compoy also said that she was attacked while walking in the same area. The squirrel launched itself from the ground to her face and wound up on her arm, leaving it bloody. Both women were taken to the emergency room, and flyers have now been posting out warning residents that the secret squirrel is no joke, that it has more than 5 people attacked already, and it comes out of nowhere. Lisa Block and Marin Humane say they have had no reports of squirrel attacks since mid-September. If the squirrel crops up again, the nonprofit will coordinate with the state to remove the animal. Can you imagine some squirrel walking up to a human and doing its best Ric Flair? I am the tree climbing, nut flying, wheeling dealing, kiss stealing son of a squirrel. Woo! Oh, I could have fun with that one for a while. I really could. If you're a baseball fan like I am, this is going to suck. This is really going to suck. I don't like where baseball is going. All right? Because apparently there is a chance that Major League Baseball may adapt robot umpires into the big leagues for next season. MLB's 11-man competition committee approved use of the automated ball strike system in major leagues in 2026. Human plate umpires will still call balls and strikes, but teams can now challenge 2 calls per game and get an additional appeals in extra innings. Challenges must be made by a pitcher, catcher, or batter, signaled by a tapping of their helmet or cap, and a team retains its challenge if successful. Reviews will be shown as digital graphics on outfield video boards. I don't like it. Takes away from the purity of one of the greatest sports ever. We cannot have this in baseball. No. Now, sure, the umpire needs improvement. Whatever happened to improving on the umpiring? We don't need any more Angel Hernandezes out there. Okay, let's get some people who actually know how to call a game. And by God, get the catchers. If you want to clean up the strike zone, make it illegal for the catchers to drag their glove into the strike zone. It'll help out. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAV, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Right with you. Do, 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 do. How did you guys like the new format tonight? So we moved the Dave 101 from Thursday to Wednesday, the weird news of the week as well. And of course, the addition of Katie Page. Good for you guys. It worked for you. Hi, Bombshell Bomber. How are you? Once Katie gets warmed up, it's going to be a great. I thought she was fantastic tonight, as every time she is on the show. But I know she was a little bit nervous because this was something different for her. Once she gets warmed up to it, I think that segment's going to be amazing. Really is going to be amazing. Jules, I understand that, and I love you for that beautiful comment. Thank you. Bim Jim, what are you doing here? Good to see you, man. There we go. Oh, Fat Baroni's just jealous because he has no hair. He's got the Dr. Phil crown going on. Look, you can't even see my other arm. Like no shoulder. Weird. Let's normalize that. Auto normalize. Yeah, I miss Tim too. I do. I do. But you know what? He's still part of the family and we got to get him healthy and we'll see where it goes. It's all up to him. I know we're going to be hanging out on Sunday, going out to Flight 21, but I know his health right now is his number one concern. And as a friend, I am totally going to respect that because he's pretty amazing. He's just an amazing dude. And what I would suggest is that yes, Dr. Bob's, I did get a haircut earlier today. I got a beard trim too. And if you guys have never, uh, probably not for the ladies, but for you guys, if you've never had a barber give you a straight blade shave, there is something very, very awesome about that. Not going to lie. It is an amazing treat. Treat yourself to that, guys. Seriously, treat yourself to it. It is so worth it. Love a good straight blade shave. Uh, Joe, we haven't. The new link, I'll move it over here. Give me a second here, Joe. Let me go to the YouTube channel here. I'm sorry. I'll get this done here momentarily. Content. I got to go do this again. So we need to move. No. That ain't the one. Where's there? Is that it? No. Where is it? Okay, there it is. That's the one. I will add that to the playlist of Secrets of the Forest. Save that. And that should be updated there too. That one should already be there, which it is. And yeah, if you go into Secrets of the Forest, it's there now. I did get it. I needed a haircut. I needed a haircut bad. With hair as thick as mine, you actually don't get a haircut. You get sheared. That's what you do is you get sheared. Yeah, it was getting a little bushy there for a little bit. It was getting a little bushy. Let's just be honest. Not as bushy as Fap when he takes his pants down. So I've heard. Not from personal experience. Oh, for goodness sake. Cut. It's 12:11 here a.m. If you're wondering. Okay, so let's go. Where do I gotta go here? I gotta go open file. There they are. Bear with me, guys. Move those in here. X out of that. X out of that. Don't save. Go here. And I like that, Christopher Jordan. That was a great score by Filthy. Just a great score. Loved it. Tomorrow night on the show, Brian Bowden will be here for our Cryptid World. I still have to talk to Varla Ventura about coming on back here when she's ready. We'll make sure, because I do want to get her back here soon. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, my man, AJ, Alaska's greatest athlete, Walter, Pam Harris, Trucker Andrew, Polly Rotterman, and Dutch Hank for the great super chats. Really appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. We're going to talk some monsters. So get ready to have some fun tomorrow night. We'll see you all then. Much love to each and every one of you. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.